Hello you lovely people and welcome. I've got a bit of a thing for second-hand model kits and saw this recently and thought I'll have that. Excuse me. And that is this. The Italeri Lockheed U-2R in 1/48 scale. Never owned a U2 in this scale before, so I'm guessing it's going to be large-ish. Finding the space for it may be an issue, but I'll make room. So, to start off with, we get the obligatory box art with Aircraft 338 with Snoopy on the tail. Now, I've got a strange link to this aircraft. I'll explain more as the video goes on, but that is the scheme that I've chosen already to put to do the aircraft in. So, let's open the box, and we are greeted with the old school black and white instructions. Pretty simple, really. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sections to make the aircraft. It's not the most detailed kit in the world, so I mean, there are aftermarket parts out there that are 3D printed, but they are way overpriced for what they are, and there's no way I'll be parting money for that. I'd rather pay the same amount of money for resin, where I know that the attention to detail is lovingly crafted with hands and not by a computer. So, get to the options. Now, there is one thing that is very strange about this kit. Don't know if you can notice that on the front there. There's a second cockpit. So you have the option to make a single seat or a two-seat trainer. Only issue being is if we look at the choice of schemes, there are only 2 single-seaters. And what's more, this must be a typo, 337, because the decals that are supplied actually show 331. And yeah, just a bit confusing for some people. I couldn't find any data on 331 with the cat on the tail anywhere on the net. 338, on the other hand, like I say, I've got a bit of a connection with the aircraft, and it has quite a storied history. So, and it also served at RF Mildenhall, Det 4. Also flew from RAF Fairford. So, let's have another look at the decals. Not many to really show, because the U2 doesn't carry the star and bar like it used to. So we've got the cat motif at the top there. We've got Snoopy on what looks like a flying carpet, a couple of no steps, the reg numbers, and the red dots for the guessing the fuel filler parts of the aircraft. So we'll start with the clear sections. Oh, a bit's fallen off. Let me just have a look, see if I can find that. It's not there. Hello. Where's it? Ah, there we go. So, okay. We have the main windshield for the pilot and the pilot canopy, and then we've got the windshield for the trainer and the obviously the main canopy for the trainer too. Very nicely molded, very clear. Okay, and go on to the aircraft itself. Okay, we've got a fuselage half here that is has come off of the sprue. Quite a length on it, as this is the what would have been a TR1, I'm guessing, at the time of this aircraft serving at Alconbury. It has the extended nose, and also it has the data sensor pods on the wings, which we'll get to in a second. As you can see, it's got raised panel lines. Not my personal favourite, but there's not too many of them. Obviously the air brake there, and the raised part for the elevators to go on, and the tail. The wing section there, rear and front undercarriage. There is a clear bit of sprue just here for where I'm guessing the cameras sit, and another one there, which are these two front bits here and here. So yeah, the flash ain't too bad for an old kit, made in 1989 originally. It's been reissued a few times, and also been reissued in senior span, which has all the aerials bristling underneath, and also the big sensor pod that sits on the top of the fuselage. Funnily enough, 338 was in that configuration in a situation that I will keep alluding to, but it's we'll get there. So there's the other fuselage half still on the sprue. So we've got the extra spine, or the main spine there, that will cover the where the second seat would go, or we've got the choice of the two cockpits, and there's the second cockpit opening there. Got a set of wheels which are cast in single piece, which is always nice. We've got the exhaust for the engine. Undercarriage legs are quite nicely detailed, and then we've got the rear wheels, which are quite tiny. We've got the struts for the undercarriage, pogo wheels, aerials, top of the tail fin, undercarriage doors, sides of the ejector seats, and then we've got flight yoke and some extra bits and pieces down here. Ejector seats and the headrests for the ejector seats here. And then we've got what is going to be start of the sensor pod. There's one on the port and the starboard wing. So talking of the ports, we've got the extra bits here. So as you can see, we have a sort of a flat face on one side. We've got one for either side of the aircraft, which point outwards, and yeah, they'll definitely be going on the aircraft. And then we've got the tail end. We've got, I think it's either a choice of having just slipper tanks or different ends at the back, but they're not shown in the instructions, which is a bit odd. Then we come on to this part here, which seems to have they folded it over while it was still cooling, and it's never separated. So we've got the top of the wings here, some nice detailing for the flaps, again raised panel lines, air intake parts here, pogo struts here. We have the air brakes and the elevators here, and then the bottom of the wing there. And then the other side we have the outer parts of the air intakes, the under part of the slipper tanks or sensor pods. We've got the skids up here and not in the pants, with extra sensor pods for the wingtips. And then we've got the elongated nose compared to the U-2C, I believe it was the last variant, or there may have been a D variant as well. Not too clued up on the U-2, to be fair, but as I was saying before, I have a loose link to aircraft 338. It was serving at RAF Alconbury, I believe, at the time, and the fate of various things amalgamated everything to come together, and this is where the connection lies. Now, I believe 338 was also the first aircraft to reach 20,000 flying hours, so quite a span of flight time there for the aircraft. But During the latter part of the Bosnian War, the Americans were doing overflights with the U-2 over that area, but they were flying from RF Falconbury, of which they were the TR-1s back then. And with the drawdown of the Soviet Union and the Cold War, they would start to close bases down. Falconbury got closed, and as a temporary measure, just so they could keep the coverage on the Bosnian War, they moved all of the TR-1s to RAF Fairford. Now, my cousin was in the United States Air Force. He was a security policeman for the 48th Security Police Squadron. Now, to cover security for the base at the time, he and a few of his colleagues were TDY'd to RAF Fairford. And this is where the link to this aircraft comes in. In 1995, August of 95, so like, was it September, October, November, December, 4 months before the end of the Bosnian War. They're still very active with the overflights. And 338 in senior span mode, like I mentioned, with the big spine on the top and all the aerials underneath, made its way out onto the runway. And it was being flown by, what was it? It was Captain David A. Hawkins. Sorry, I'm having to read from the notes here because there's quite a bit to remember. And flying under the call sign of Mooch 31, it departed RAF Fairford for the intended Bosnian overflight in senior span, but the port wing pogo, or outrigger, failed to detach. So, heavy with fuel, he decided to bring it round and try and shake the pogo off by waggling his wings low over the airfield. Unfortunately, at the midpoint of the runway, so I'm guessing just after the control tower, he inadvertently put the aircraft into a stall. Left wingtip hit the runway and snapped. And then the aircraft came down and it veered to the left towards a substation, and it crashed through the perimeter fence. And as the aircraft bounced on the concrete taxiway, Captain Hawkins tried to eject, but the 00 seat was outside the parameters, and the pilot's chute deployed, but the main canopy didn't. It didn't have time to fully inflate. And from what my cousin said, is that he actually ejected out horizontally and hit the fence. His body came to rest 150 feet east of the airframe, which ended up in a farmer's field, with the nose broken off and the rest of the U-2 fully on fire. He was transferred to, I think he was airlifted to Princess Margaret Hospital in Swindon, where he died 2 hours later, unfortunately. And he is buried in the Arlington Cemetery in Washington. So, yes, that's my link. It's like this 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You know someone who knows 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 Kevin Bacon, or that sort of thing. With the amalgamation of the Bosnian War, closure of RAF Falconbury, my cousin being a security policeman at RAF Lakenheath at the time, all converged with him being on the base with this aircraft at this time, at the time of the crash. So I will be building the aircraft in the 338 as it is depicted on the picture here while it was serving at RAF Mildenhall. So I think I've waffled on long enough. One thing I did forget to mention is in the instructions, there are no decals for the two-seater, which is absolutely bizarre. I mean, yeah, the paint is simple enough. You just spray it flat black. But there are no decals, no reg, no anything. So Italeri have reissued the kit, and I've ordered another one for the decals for the two-seater. So I'll be making also a two-seater alongside the single-seater once I get around to deciding what I'm going to build next. Now I'm very tempted by the U2. It's very simple. I say that now, but building it might not be. And I just want something to kick my mojo back into the modelling world again. I have this from time to time. It's part of my depression. It happens. You just lose all interest in it. So I'm hoping something simple like that might get me back into it. So once that kit comes along, I may do another video just to see how different it looks. I would love to get my hands on a senior span variant, but Italeri have only issued it twice, 2010 and I believe again in 2012. I can't be 100% sure on that. But all it is just this with a senior span sprue thrown in and some extra instructions. So I have written to Italeri to see if they, by any chance, have a senior span sprue laying about, and if so, would they allow me to purchase that? But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Will they? They probably won't. But I'm hoping they'll reissue it again at some point. So with that, yeah, waffled on for way too long. So if you got this far, thank you for watching. It's nice to do something a little bit different, and hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully I'll get better at this, because at the moment I'm still on my dumb phone, and yeah, quality's not great, but neither is the sound. I sound like I'm inside a box. But things can only get better, as they say, unless they get worse. So I will leave you with that, and as always, take care, and I will catch you in the next one.